Hey everybody, welcome to another short lit yoga reset class. Today we're going to be resetting and talking about dolphin pose. So I have a block with me. You'll see me utilize it when we come into that dolphin pose. You don't necessarily have to have one for the practice today, but for that variation that I'll be showing you, it can be nice to have and to be able to play around with, just as, again, another tool in your belt to help you work with this posture and get the most out of it. Dolphin is a very efficient pose that really gets a lot going for us in a short amount of time. We're lengthening the back, we're integrating the core, we're stabilizing the shoulders, all the while we're upside down, that heart rate is climbing, and we're really heating up the whole system really efficiently. We'll come down onto our backs, as we usually do in these reset classes, getting us started with our shoulders, hips, and skull all connected into the floor. Right away, we're gonna push into our feet and lift the hips by curling that tailbone towards the heels. So in your ramp position, ramping it up, make sure the glutes are working for you. If they need a little extra pat and slap, that's a-okay. You want them working for you. And in our ramp pose, we just wanna kind of emulate the shape of a ramp and also the intention of ramping up. So we're just making this little extension of the hips, creating like this diagonal lifted line of the body. We're prioritizing our low back feeling long and our glutes firing up. Now take your hands in front of your chest, palms will face in towards each other, fingers are reaching up to the ceiling. I want you to feel your shoulder blades slide away from the center of the spine. As you reach your fingers up towards the ceiling here, you should feel your shoulders spread just a little bit away from the center of the spine. There's a little bit of shoulder blade protraction, something we're gonna wanna feel in our dolphin to really help to open up this back line behind the shoulders. Now, right where your arm bones plug into your shoulder socket, take those arms and plug them down into the floor, feeling those shoulder blades squeeze together and hug down onto those back ribs. You'll reach your fingers up to the ceiling again, feel a little bit of shoulder blade protraction. And then once again, drawing those arm bones, almost like trying to plug them down into the floor, feeling them centered in that shoulder socket. We're gonna wanna feel that centered head of the arm bone for our dolphin as well. Reaching up, allow the shoulder blades to maybe even almost like lift off of the floor. They're getting so much spread and reach. And then as you draw the shoulder blades towards one another again, feel the arm bones plug down. They won't come quite all the way to full retraction because we have the floor underneath of us blocking us. One more time, reach your fingers up, feel that spread, and then draw those arm bones back down. Now we're gonna stretch the right wrist by taking the right palm up to the ceiling and pulling back on your 4 fingers of the right hand that are on top with that left hand. Your thumb, you can just look at it and allow it to energetically pull away from the center of the palm. We're still working the glutes, so we're still in our low ramp pose. We're giving length to the back, extension into the hips here. Continue to feel that arm bone plug into the floor as well. And you might even try reaching the palm a little bit more up and overhead. So it's okay if that feels like too tight and you start to lose the low back and everything, then feel free just to keep the palm facing up. But what it'll do is it'll automatically give you a little bit of a sense for just how open your shoulders are. In dolphin pose, we're gonna want our bicep framing out like our cheekbone and our ear. So if it doesn't quite get there, that can already tell you might have some tightnesses there we're gonna have to work through. Release the right wrist, circle it once or twice each way. Then we'll go with the left hand, getting a nice pull into the left wrist. So the 4 fingers on top get a pull, and then your thumb just gets a little energized and pulls away from the palm. Really pull back and plug that left arm bone into that shoulder socket. So you don't wanna let it kind of wander off here, but we're really gonna hone this centering in of the arm bone into the practice. And once again, you can try pressing your palm a little bit more up and overhead. So that's really nice because you can just get that opening into the wrist and even give you a little bit more of a sense of how open the shoulders are. So what I mean is if like your low ribs pop by reaching your arm overhead, you think you just went into your low back, bring your arm forward, give yourself space in the shoulder to create the length in the back. Release your left wrist. As you circle it this time, we'll lower, upper, middle, and then back of the sacrum, the pelvis onto the ground. Take your fingers, interlace them, and bring them behind your skull. So you want to make a nice, like, almost like a hammock for the back of your head. Our neck is going to relax here. Feet are walked in, back of the hips are on the ground. We have the natural curve of the low back and the shoulders are down. Skull is in the hands. Inhale. Exhale, draw your belly down into your low back and let that lift your shoulder blades off the ground. Then take your right forearm onto your lowest ribs, and almost like you're putting on like a seatbelt or something here. Press down into those low ribs. See if you can lift a little higher by exhaling just a little bit more out. Bring the right arm back behind the head and inhale, lower. Exhale and lift, everything gathers together. Your shoulder blades come up off of the ground, sacrum's loaded onto the ground. Bring the left forearm onto the low ribs and press your left forearm down into the low ribs and really feel everything stabilizing here. You're using a little bit of the upper core, the shoulder, and the forearm to help to really draw everything into the core. And Dolphin's a full 100% cores on move. Left hand comes back behind the head, inhale and lower. So now we're gonna move on just a little bit, exhale and lift. This time the right arm will reach up instead of bringing the forearm to the ribs. So you're reaching up at those fingers, feel that protraction. Then bring the right hand back behind your head, inhale and lower. Slowly building muscle endurance around the core. Exhale and lift, learning to stabilize, holding up with those shoulder blades and reaching your left arm up. So really reach your left arm up and your fingertips are gonna help you get that protraction of the left shoulder blade. Left hand comes back behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, we're adding another thing on. Shoulder blades come up, right arm reaches up, make a little fist with that right hand, then plug your right elbow down into the ground. Let it really light your shoulder blade up here. So again, we're accessing the upper core, which is really gonna get fired up in Dolphin. Right hand comes back behind the head, inhale and lower. Exhale and lift, everything gathers together. Left arm reaches up, spread the fingers, shoulder blade reaches away from the center of the spine. Make a little fist with the left hand and then plug your left elbow down into the ground. Pull that left shoulder blade onto those back ribs. Feel everything stabilizing here. And then that left hand will come back behind the head. Inhale and lower. One more thing here. Exhale and lift. Everything gathers together. Right arm reaches up. Make a fist. Then plug that right elbow down into the ground next to those right ribs. And then kick your right leg forward. So we're really getting into that right side, now involving the limbs a little bit like they will be in Dolphin. Right foot comes down, right hand comes back, inhale and lower. One more, exhale and lift. Everything gathers together, left arm reaches up, you got this. Little fist with that left hand, plug that left elbow down into the ground, your shoulder blade hugs onto the back ribs, and then kick your left foot forward. Feel your belly is drawing in, core is on here. Left foot comes down, left hand comes back, inhale and lower. Wiggle your feet wide. Keep the engagement of your core and your glutes that you just worked so hard for. Drop your knees off to the right. Slide your right hand in front of your left hip. Squeeze your left glute and push your left heel into the ground. Root your tailbone to your feet, then reach the left arm up. So we're just getting a little extra side lengthening here through that left side body. Breathing out through the lips. And then bring that left arm down, feet back through center, drop them off to the left. So again, fire up the right glute, press into the right heel, point your tailbone down towards your legs, let that open up that right hip here. So we've done all this work firing up the glutes and the core. Now we're gonna use that strength of the glutes and the core as we reach the right arm up to create a little opening for this right side body, especially around these ribs. So we're going to feel the side bodies getting a lot longer in our Dolphin as well. And come back through center. Come around onto all fours, and we're going to come onto our forearm. So here is even one of the first places that we can have that block available. So I know that for a lot of us, those elbows really like to wing out when we come down onto our forearms. And it's totally fine for us to clasp our hands together. In fact, that's one of the variations we'll have when we finally get into Dolphin. But another thing that can help you work on range of motion, pulling those elbows in and centering your arm bone in that shoulder socket, is having one of these standard, well, like I guess it's like a 2 by 6 by 4 inch block, having one of these little, classic yoga blocks, and being able to put it on the lowest height and the widest setting, making 2 L's with your hands. So even just coming onto my forearms with my elbows under my shoulders and my knees under my hips, this will already give me just something to focus on, feel my elbows wrapping into, and again, creating that opening around the shoulders. But like we mentioned in the beginning of class, if you don't have this block available with you, don't even worry about it. Just have your palms flat on the ground. Forearms are just about parallel with each other. Before we go anywhere, we'll take a few cat-cows. It's going to feel a little bit more restricted than your usual cat-cow up on your hands. The goal is to get a little bit more into this middle thoracic spine and this core, which we're going to be really feeling lengthen and fire up in Dolphin. Press into your forearms, relax your neck, and puff up in between your shoulder blades. Really root your tailbone down to the ground. So it's like a little baby cat round. As you inhale, pull with your forearms. They won't really move on you, but you use that pull of the forearms to broaden the chest. The gaze can lift, but we're not overly craning or straining the neck by lifting the chin. We're just keeping that skull mostly in line with those shoulders. Push back into your forearms, spread the shoulder blades. Feel that rounding, especially in the upper back, and pull your tailbone down, let your neck relax. Pull with the forearms. They won't really move, but what it'll do is it'll pull your chest open. You'll get this broadening across the whole collarbone here at the front. Pushing the forearms, feel the spread of those shoulder blades. Do that 2 more times, pulling through that cow-like pose. You can't even really let the core go too much, pushing and spreading the shoulder blades because we are here on the forearms. There's automatically kind of this forced engagement of the core, which is a really good thing to have when you're trying to open up the back line of your body. You want the front line of the body, the belly, everything pulling in, stabilizing, strengthening for you. 1 more time, pull forward. And then just come to that neutral position. So you can come up for a moment and even shake those arms out. In fact, maybe roll your shoulders back one at a time while I talk about Dolphin here. So keep with your little shoulder rolls. So we're going to be coming into our Dolphin. Just going to right away touch on the first couple things that don't matter when you're in Dolphin pose. What's not going to matter for you in Dolphin pose is whether or not your legs are straight. So again, we're trying to lengthen the back line of the body. And with totally straight legs, for a lot of people, you'll probably see this on me, you tend to sacrifice your back length. So you end up really rounded in your back and really strained in your low back just to straighten your legs. On that same note, your heels don't have to touch the ground. So before we even go anywhere, now that you're slowing your shoulder rolls down, know that straight legs, not going to matter. What you are going to want to feel, again, are 3 big things in our Dolphin. Length of spine, integration of the core, and the shoulders are working. So 3 ways to set up Dolphin. I'll go through it like progressively. So the first one with a little bit more stability is tying the fingers together, wrapping your elbows in. The key here with all of these Dolphin positions is we are going to want our elbow underneath our shoulder socket. So you want to line that elbow up with the very top of that arm bone. If the fingers are tied together, it can actually, you already kind of start off a little bit more narrow. So it's a really nice way to set yourself up there. Like we talked about before, if you do have a block available, bring it on its lowest height and its widest setting. Take your hands, you're making like a little L shape with each hand. This also will help you wrap those elbows in. Now, if you have been doing Dolphin for a little while, you'll just have your palms flat on the ground, forearms are parallel. So 1 more time, kind of showing up to show you, you're still parallel, elbows are still in line with that arm bone, but now we just have the palms down flat. And you decide, I'm gonna go with the block option because I like the way that helps me wrap my elbows in. Just like we did in our forearms down, quadruped cat-cow, we're gonna kind of start it off with our little cat rounding. So before you ever go anywhere, relax your neck here. Maybe breathe it out through the lips once with a little, really ensure that neck is relaxed. Push down into your forearms and already start to spread your shoulder blades. So here's that shoulder blade protraction, spreading away that we were working on in our reset. Tuck your toes, and the first form of Dolphin is just hovering your knees. This might be all it gets to today, and that's beautiful. Keep hovering your knees, keep pushing down into your forearms. Now, if you want to take that a little bit further, what you're going to do is you're going to hoist your pelvis up towards the ceiling by pushing into your forearms, down into them, and your toes. You're straightening the knees, but again, your legs don't have to become totally straight. Notice if you've straightened your legs out, if you feel a big pull at your low back and a rounding in your back like mine is right here, allow the knees to bend. You want to feel like your leg bones are pulling up higher into the hip socket and pull the low ribs in. All the while, push down into the forearms and breathe into your back like it's a big balloon. Really fill that back space up. Big breath in. Exhale, draw down into the belly. Allow the heels to lift. Push down into those toes. In the beginning, you just want to work on lifting your head and not allowing it to touch the floor in dolphin. So push down to those forearms. Eventually, over time, you're going to press so much down to those forearms that you're going to start to feel a lift of your ribs away from those shoulders. So extend the ribs, push in the forearms. One more breath here, and lower the knees. And what you should be feeling now, you can sit back in the child's pose, is a lot of heat that built up around the ribs, around the shoulders. That's what we're doing here with that dolphin. So we're maintaining length through the whole spine, not worrying about if the knees are straight or not. We're definitely feeling our shoulders. And that is not just where your arm bone meets the shoulder socket, but it's all of these attachments around the scapula. It's that big triangle bone at the back, that scapula, the serratus anterior, this muscle on the side of the ribs that you're feeling. Hold yourself up there. So many pieces of dolphin. So that's an example of more of our stabilizing dolphin that we'll almost always do in all of these resets for these lit classes. I mean, feel how already your shoulders are just like, whew, fired up, a little bit more in place. So many of us, computer work, right? Just sitting around watching TV, driving to the next thing. This is exactly what your shoulders need. This next version of dolphin will have us lifting the leg and pressing into the bottom foot's big toe mound. So really think about where that big toe mound plugs into the foot, and we'll add a little bit of lengthen to it. So when you're ready, come up from that child's pose, bring those forearms down, and once again, tuck the toes. Again, we could have fingers interlaced with the elbows in, hands framing out the block, or just palms straight up, flat down. We'll go with the straight up, flat down option on this one. Again, relax your neck, puff up in between the shoulder blades, tuck your toes, hover your knees. We call this little baby dolphin pose. You can stay in little baby dolphin or push into your forearms, push into your toes equally. Hoisting your pelvis up, you want to still feel those forearms press into the ground. Your right foot can go a little bit more into the middle, then lift your left leg up. Your heel of the left foot is just about in line with the left hip. Now look at the right foot. Spread the toes out and then start to push into that right big toe mound and extend your ankle. And we're just going to do that about 10 times here, pushing into that big toe mound, extending the ankle. Your chest really doesn't change at all. It's just supporting and stabilizing you here. Big breaths here. It takes a big breath to support a powerful movement like dolphin. Left foot comes down, knees come down. Let's take a little rest before we hit that other side. You can face the palms up. Palms come down, bring it forward. So finally, I'll show you the hands tied variation. Elbows still in, just to show you that all three of these are really equal in terms of value, but it just might be different with what's serving you best in your practice. Again, pushing the forearms, relax your neck, tuck your toes, pressing the forearms and toes equally, hover the knees, hoisting your pelvis towards the ceiling, pull your low ribs in, push into your forearms, lift your ribs away from your hips, and then also feel like you could pull your leg bones even deeper into your hip sockets. Left foot can step a little bit more into the middle, right leg lifts. Right leg is just straight back behind you in line with the hips. Push into that left big toe mound, so right where your left big toe plugs into the floor, and then extend the ankle and flex it. Extending and flexing. All the while you're pushing into those forearms, feeling that lift of the ribs, mobilizing the ankle. One of your ankles might be noisier than the other. That's just a good sign. You need to mobilize this one more, stabilize it, and really work it. It's good. 2 and 1. Right foot comes down. Knees come down once again. Flip those forearms up. Let's all sit back or stand on the knees and get a little shoulder roll. It's just a really good way to counter this opening into the shoulders. So I hope that that helps clear up dolphin pose, what our intentions are with it, engaging into the core, lengthening the spine, firing up your shoulders, and giving your upper core, so your shoulders and the whole shoulder complex, a sense of engagement and giving it a sense of the place that it should be held in. So ultimately, we can relieve our neck, all the work that's doing at the computer, looking around for us. We get more of these muscles around the shoulders activated, then we can just hold with freedom and support that skull on top, and ultimately just find more balance through that whole chain. So of course, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Happy to answer any of your questions about dolphin pose. And I hope that's feeling a little bit more fired up. Remember, press those forearms down, keep that head of the arm bone centered, pull the core in, get long through that spine, and breathe. Breathe big and breathe supportive. Really pull it in to the belly on those exhales. So the light in me honors the light that shines within each and every one of you. Namaskar, everybody.